Friday at PizzaFLIX. Tonight it's a gripping courtroom drama by Studio One, penned by Reginald Rose, the brilliant mind behind 12 Angry Men. Ralph Bellamy and William Shatner lead the all-star cast as a father and son defense team, with Martin Balsam as the relentless prosecutor and a breakout role by Steve McQueen as a defendant charged with felony murder.
Okay, talk about that. Good morning.
Good morning, Dan.
How is he?
Scared to death. I thought you were going to drop in with me and say hello. It might have helped him. I didn't know what to say to him, Dan. Why don't you go in and talk to him?
I can't talk to him.
It's 20 after. What's he doing in there?
Having his hot water and lemon juice. His honor's stomach ain't what it used to be.
Yeah, well, whose is?
Look at Toohey. Now, there's a happy man. What a beautiful case to prosecute, huh?
And he'll be putting on some show, Mr. Toohey will.
Yeah. Academy Award. Well, here we go. Answer your names. Edward P. Lynch. Here. Charles Morgenstern. Here. Leonard Tipp. Here. Arnold Here. Sherman J. Flynn. Here. Harold Shapiro. Here. Alvin M. Martin.
I give $10 to be on that jury.
Justin M. McFarland.
Any gum in there?
Rep. Sabatino.
You know how I feel for honey, the husband, what he must have gone through.
How do you think Preston's going to behave?
Oh, he's going to be tough, Si.
You ever go against him before?
No, but I found out all about him.
You know, I don't think he appreciates being appointed attorney on this case. We've got this thing won, and he knows it.
Well, it's going to be a tough $1,500 for him.
And how? Say, is that his son he's got there with him?
Yeah.
You know, he's fresh out of law school. He's breaking him in the hard way, huh?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Si, that's a beautiful jury.
Hey, Betsy, that is gorgeous stuff. No, it is. Hey, Ed, you know what it's going to say in the Post tonight?
No, what?
Well, this will tear your heart out. Joseph Gordon, A frail and tormented youth sat unflinchingly erect today in a musty courtroom waiting for a trial to begin. Zing. A trial which will almost certainly mean the end of his sad young life. Zing. Is that a piece of Pulitzer Prize material, or is it not? Huh?
Drop dead.
This thing won't last 2 days. Toohey will eat that defense lawyer alive.
You have the notes to your opening statement? What do you think of the jury?
I don't know. It's all guesswork. They might be inclined to favor us, and they might not. There's no way of telling.
I don't think it's our jury.
There's no way of telling.
No, you're wrong. It takes a psychopathic personality. Look at him. All murderers are psychopaths.
I don't know. I mean, there are certain conditions that...
No matter what conditions. Listen, to put your hands around a woman's throat and to squeeze for at least several minutes. It takes a very special kind of person.
Yeah. Good morning, Joseph. How do you feel? It's all right. Sit back and relax. I won't be very long. Joe, I want you to listen to the district attorney's opening statement very carefully.
Hear ye, hear ye. All those having business before trial term, part 6 of the criminal court, draw near, give the attention, and ye shall be heard. Justice Peter Marcello presiding. Be seated.
If you gentlemen are ready.
Ready, Your Honor? Ready, Your Honor.
Proceed.
May it please the court.
Gentlemen, I'm not going to take up your time today with a lengthy opening statement. We have a relatively simple case to try, and the facts, as presented by the witnesses, will more than speak for themselves. We're going to be talking today about what the law calls a felony murder, gentlemen. That's a killing that's done during the commission of felony. And the law also states that a felony murder is a first-degree murder, even though there is no premeditation. Now, I repeat that. No premeditation. For example, if a man is burglarizing a home and kills the owner of that home to prevent an outcry, that person is guilty of first-degree murder. And if Joseph Gordon didn't know that little point of law on the morning of January 7th, 1957, he certainly knows it now. January 7th, 1957. It's a Monday. It's the beginning of the second month of employment for Joseph Gordon as a delivery boy in a butcher shop. Joseph Gordon, whose intimates knew him to be a young man with an insatiable desire for quick and easy money, has had 1 month of work delivering meat to the lush apartments along River Drive. And in that 1 month, has decided to gratify that lust for money by robbing one of these apartments. And so he selects the apartment of Victor Wallach, a prominent psychiatrist. And on January 7th, 1957, at approximately 9:45 a.m., he enters the Wallach apartment with a delivery. Now, Harriet Wallach, Victor Wallach's wife and the mother of his 2 young children, is at home alone. And this is the opportunity that Joseph Gordon has been waiting for. He enters the apartment, threatens her, tells her to be quiet. She struggles, she screams, and then coldly and brutally, Joseph Gordon strangles Harriet Wallach to death. And then in peace and in quiet, he proceeds to ransack the apartment. But a moment later, he hears a key in the door. He becomes frightened. Goes to the door, opens it up. And when it does open, he lashes out at Harriet Wallach's maid and knocks her unconscious with just 1 blow. And then flees from the apartment without having had time to steal anything. He is then seen running down the block by Victor Wallach, the man whose wife he has just strangled. And instead of going back to the butcher shop where he works, he goes home, where he is, of course, arrested a short time later. And why does he go home? Well, gentlemen, he says he had a headache. A headache. Look at him, gentlemen. I want you gentlemen to just look at him. Does he look back at you? He does not. You know why? Because he knows that each and every one of you will see guilt written right in his face. And as he sits in this courtroom, Joseph Gordon knows in his heart that he murdered Harriet Wallach in cold blood. And by the time we're through here, gentlemen, you will know it too. You will not guess it. You will not imagine it. You will know it beyond any shadow of a doubt. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Gentlemen of the jury, this is a court of law, not a theater. You can't be asked to judge a case before you've heard it. The witnesses haven't appeared, the facts are not yet in. The prosecution will attempt to prove, through its witnesses, that Joseph Gordon is a murderer. Yet none of these witnesses saw Harriet Wallach being murdered, nor was any one of them in a position to get more than a brief glimpse of one man whom they say was responsible for Harriet Wallach's death. We therefore have these conditions before us. The witnesses saw someone, yet no one can prove that the someone they saw was the murderer. And further, they themselves were only able to see that someone for a brief second. Let me ask you this. No one disputes the fact that Joseph Gordon is a man of average intelligence. Now, supposing each one of you, also men of average intelligence, decided that you needed a lot of money in a hurry. As delivery boys for stores which service neighborhood customers, would you attempt to steal from people to whom you are making a delivery at the time of delivery? Wouldn't that be an idiotic thing to do? You'd be known to have been sent to this particular apartment. You'd have been seen entering it. You'd have absolutely no chance of getting away with your crime. No man of average intelligence would attempt to commit a robbery in this manner. And the dramatic attempts of the district attorney to prove otherwise must not in any way affect you. You're not dealing with guesswork, probabilities, or possibilities. You're dealing with facts. I urge you to listen and to think. Thank you, gentlemen.
Your Honor?
Proceed.
Dr. Horace Bell.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and address.
Horace Bell, 723 West 72nd Street.
Dr. Bell, you're a physician duly licensed to practice medicine in this state, aren't you?
I am.
And by whom are you employed?
By the county medical examiner's office.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a specialty in medicine, doctor?
I'll concede that the witness is qualified.
Now, doctor, on January 7th, 1957, were you summoned in your official capacity as county medical examiner to the apartment of Victor Wallach at 631 River Drive?
I was.
And what time did you enter the apartment?
At 11:10 a.m.
And what, if anything, did you notice?
As I entered the living room, I saw lying on the floor the dead body of a white female, well-nourished, of approximately 35 years of age.
Was there anyone else in the room with you?
There was
Could you tell us who there was?
Detective Sergeant Charles P. Gannon, the maid, Mary Ellen Bailey, and Victor Wallach.
Now, doctor, did you make an examination of the dead body?
I did. I made a gross examination at the scene, and later that afternoon at the morgue, I performed a complete autopsy.
Now, doctor, based on your findings, what did you find after you made the gross examination?
I found considerable edema, that swelling of the face and neck. The lips and tongue were thickened and cyanotic. There were subconjunctival hemorrhages of the eyeballs and severe ecchymosis of the skin of the throat.
Ecchymosis.
Black and blue marks.
Now, doctor, what did you find after you made the autopsy?
Well, there were numerous small hemorrhages of the soft tissues of the throat. A fractured larynx with hemorrhaging. The lungs were collapsed. There was severe spasm of the glottis, and the cerebral blood was depleted of oxygen on testing.
Now, doctor, based on the findings that you made after both these examinations, do you have an opinion that you can state with reasonable medical certainty as to the cause of death?
I have.
And what is that opinion?
Death was due to suffocation caused by strangulation by manual pressure.
Strangulation by manual pressure. And doctor, do you have an opinion which you can state with reasonable medical certainty as to the time of death?
I have.
And what is that opinion?
I made my examination at approximately 11:15 a.m., and it's my opinion that the body has been dead for an hour and a half.
And that would make it approximately 9:45.
That's correct.
9:45. Your witness?
Dr. Bell, medicine is not an exact science, isn't that correct?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, you doctors refer to it as an art rather than a science, do you not?
We do, although we employ scientific methods.
You use science to gather your data, but your conclusions are your own evaluations, isn't that so?
Yes.
And therefore subject to human error.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
You made mistakes in your time, haven't you, Doctor?
Yes, I have.
Don't we all? Tell me how you normally arrive at an estimation of the time of death.
Well, there are three signs we look for. One, a lowering of the body temperature. Two, rigor mortis, which normally begins in the lower jaw. And three, post-mortem lividity. That's the reaction of still blood to gravity. Now, the deductions we can make from these conditions leads us to a pretty accurate estimate of the time of death, especially if we arrive on the scene quickly.
A pretty accurate estimate,
Yes.
but not exact.
No, there's almost no
You
way.
said death occurred at 9:45 a.m.
I said approximately.
What do you mean, approximately?
Give or take 10 minutes.
So you say death occurred between 9:35 and 9:55?
Well, yes, that's about it.
That's about it. But it could have been give or take 15 minutes, couldn't it?
Yes, it could have.
So now you say death occurred between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. As a matter of fact, it could have been give or take a half an hour, couldn't it, Doctor?
Oh, no, I'm almost certain it could not have been that.
Almost?
Well, absolutely.
But you said almost.
Well, what I actually meant to say
further
was
questions.
Cy. Is that detective in the room?
Yeah, he's right back there.
Good, I want to talk to him before he gets on the stand. Okay. Your Honor, we make a request for a short recess.
All right. We'll take 15 minutes.
I'll get it.
Outside the railing. Please, miss. Outside of the railing. Back. Joey, all right? Get him inside.
Joey?
I'm sorry, sir. That was a terrible thing that happened.
Go back in there now. I'll go.
Dad, aren't you coming in?
Okay.
He's a pretty good hitter. You want the doctor to come in?
No.
It looks all right. How do you feel?
I feel all right.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll get you some aspirin or something. Oh, listen, I'm sorry about that. I mean, he just came out of nowhere, that
your
guy.
fault.
What a surprising thing, right in the courtroom like that.
How you feeling, Joe? I feel all right. Good. I've had a clerk speak to Judge Marsala about it. It won't happen again. Joe, there are a few things we could go over again. Now, is there any way you can fix the time you made the meat delivery of the wallet compartment?
No.
What time do you think it was?
I told you. I don't know.
Well, perhaps you saw somebody on the street.
I've told you 20 times. I had a headache, and I was sick to my stomach.
Your mouth is breathing, Joe. We're trying to help.
I know.
Now, when you brought the delivery up in the elevator, what did you do with it?
I told you. I rang the bell. She opened the back door, and I handed her the package.
Well, don't you usually ring the bell, leave the delivery leaning against the door, and get back into the elevator?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, why did you wait?
I told you. I thought maybe I could get a tip.
I see. And then you came back down in the elevator?
Yeah.
But the elevator man says you didn't.
That's what he said. What do you want from me? Huh? I came down in the elevator.
Then what did you do?
I got on the subway, and I went home.
Why didn't you call the butcher shop and tell them you were sick?
I was too sick to call.
What do you take for your headaches, Joe?
I told you. Codeine.
Do you have any at home?
Yeah.
Where do you keep it?
Next to my bed.
Did you take any when you got home?
Yeah, how many more times are you going to ask me?
I'm asking you because you might have forgotten something important.
I didn't forget nothing.
No need to raise your voice. Something the matter?
No, everything's okay. Now, look,
I want to wash my face.
He's a miserable young boy, isn't he?
Well, I guess he's pretty scared.
I can't stand him.
Well, you don't have to like him.
It'd help me. You know, I was very pleased when Marsala appointed me to this case. I was honored. Really. I mean, for a case like this one that's, well, next to hopeless, they only appoint the best. It's kind of a nice thing, Ken, you know?
Yeah.
I approached this with a real burst of energy. It's something kind of rare for me these days. Your mother even remarked about it. I mean, it's marvelous at my age to have a sudden burst of speed. And I met this Joseph Gordon. Well, he's such a gross human being. He killed this woman.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
There isn't a question in my mind he's guilty. And every single piece of evidence that's going to be presented in that courtroom says he is.
Oh. He's no murderer. I can't base it on any evidence or anything. Just something I feel. Dad, the way he sits there.
You don't know what you're talking about, boy. You've got a lot to learn. Just let me worry about it.
Just a minute. Doesn't make any difference whether he's guilty. He's entitled to
I know
a
what
few
he's
things.
entitled to. He's entitled to a good defense, and that's what I'm giving him, because that's my job. But I want to tell you this. He killed that woman as sure as I'm standing in front of you, and I don't want to see him walk out of that courtroom a free man. May seem a little shocking, but that's the truth.
You're hanging that boy.
That's not so. He's hanged himself.
But you're his lawyer. You're supposed to do everything
Don't you
can.
tell me what I'm supposed to do. I'm here to give him an ethical defense, and that's what I'm giving him. You know the meaning of that word.
I know what it means. But your personal ethics are killing him, and you know that.
That's enough. I know what you're trying to lead up to here, and I told you the other day I won't have any part of it. This fantastic business you suggested is a cheap 10-cent store trick, and I won't touch it. I've never done a thing like that in a courtroom in my life.
But it's our job to try and save his life, Dad, and this might do it.
I'm not going to turn this trial into a circus to get him off. And don't you bring that person you dredged up into the courtroom. Do you hear me? Now, let's go inside.
Sir? Why don't you resign? You judged him already. Even our law doesn't do that.
Now, you listen to me. I'm not speaking as your father now. I'm speaking as your employer. You're a new boy here. You're new in this business. You're still being breastfed. Don't you tell me what the law does or does not do. You remember your place.
People can't just hit when they feel.
It's all right.
They get you a doctor for that?
No.
Why don't they get you a doctor when you're hurt? You're not as good as them.
Oh, please.
If it was you hit him, they'd have 10 doctors. If you don't turn your back, Joey.
Victor Wallop. Victor Wallop, come forward to the bench. I've been informed that you struck the defendant in the face a few minutes ago. Now, I'm warning you, Mr. Wallop, any similar action on your part, and I'll expel you from this courtroom and hold you in contempt of court. Now, take your seat and behave yourself.
I'm very sorry, Your Honor.
It's a difficult thing. Call the next witness.
James Seeley.
Sergeant, I'd like to take a practice.
Do you mean it?
I do. Be my guest.
Detective Sergeant James N. Shealy, shield number 93381. My home address 616 Longfield Avenue. Sergeant Shealy, you're attached to the 64th Detective Squad in this city.
I am.
And on the morning of January 7th, 1957, did you respond to a call at 631 River Drive, apartment 7D?
I did.
Did you go there alone?
No, sir. I was with Detective Sergeant Charles P. Gannon.
At what time did you arrive at the premises?
At 10:35 a.m.
Was there anyone else there when you arrived?
Yes, sir. There was the maid, Mary Ellen Bailey, Victor Wallach, and the deceased.
What, if anything, did you observe about Mary Ellen Bailey's physical condition?
Her nose and mouth were cut and very badly swollen, as if she had been punched.
Objection.
Sustained. The witness is not a medical expert and therefore not entitled to draw conclusions as to the cause of injury. The jury will disregard the second portion of his statement. Proceed.
Now, Sergeant Sheeling, will you tell the jury, in your own words, what you did and what you found at the scene of the crime?
Well, I called headquarters and I reported a homicide. Then Sergeant Gannon and I began an investigation of the premises immediately. The bedroom and living room were both a mess. Drawers open, clothes and things thrown all over the floor. I questioned Mary Ellen Bailey, the maid, and she told me that...
Objection.
Sustained. Just tell what you saw and did, not what anyone told you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go on, Sergeant.
Then I went into the kitchen where I found an unopened bag of meat on the floor.
Could you tell us what was inside?
Yes, sir. It was a rib roast.
Anything else?
There was a bill for $8.27 from the OK Meat Market, 961 Columbia Avenue.
And what did you do then?
I left Sergeant Gannon on the premises to wait for the medical examiner, and I went to the OK Meat Market.
Had the boy who delivered the package to the Wallach apartment returned to the OK Market?
He had not.
Was he overdue?
He was.
And what did you do then?
I asked for his name and address.
And then, where did you go?
To 61 Dexter Avenue, apartment 14, where I found Joseph Gordon, the delivery boy, and I made the arrest.
Is Joseph Gordon in this courtroom?
He is.
Would you point him out?
He's the defendant, right there.
Now, Sergeant Shealy, at what time did you make the arrest?
At 12:25 p.m.
Less than 2 hours after you arrived at the Wallach apartment. I think that's a remarkable piece of work. You deserve to be congratulated.
I object, Your Honor. He has no right to congratulate a police officer.
Strike that out. The jury will disregard that statement completely. And you watch the way you conduct yourself, Mr. Miller.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, proceed.
Now, Sergeant Shealy, will you tell us what, if anything, you observed about the defendant's physical condition?
Well, the knuckles of his right hand were bruised and swollen.
The knuckles of his right hand were bruised and swollen. Anything else?
Yes, sir, he was agitated. He was very agitated, and he was sweating.
Was it warm in the apartment?
No, sir, it was cold.
Did the defendant say anything to you?
Yes, sir. He yelled 3 or 4 times. I can't stand it anymore. This is the end.
I was yelling about my headache, you dirty stinking liar. I was yelling about my headache. Well, tell him. I never killed no one. What are you doing to me? I had a headache.
I don't have to tell you, Mr. Gordon, not to do that again. Proceed.
Your witness.
You've made a great many arrests since you've been on the force, haven't you?
I have?
How many?
Well, I don't know the exact number.
100?
More than that.
When you arrest someone, isn't the person you arrest usually in an agitated state?
Yes, but not as agitated as this man was.
But agitated.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, when you arrived at Joseph Gordon's apartment, what was he doing?
He was lying down.
Where?
In the bedroom.
Was he fully dressed?
No, sir.
How was he dressed?
He was in his undershirt.
Did you see a suitcase packed anywhere in the apartment?
No, sir.
He was in his undershirt, lying on his bed, and there was no packed suitcase. Would you say under those circumstances it looked as though he was preparing to flee?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did you see a glass of water on a table next to the defendant's bed?
I did not.
Did you see a bottle of codeine tablets on that table?
No, sir.
Did you look at the table?
Oh, sir, I didn't. I was...
No further questions.
I think this is a good time to recess for lunch. We'll take 1 hour. You gentlemen of the jury will not discuss the case among yourselves.
Well, this Preston isn't bad.
Sure he isn't bad, but what does he prove? If I strangled that dame, I'd have a headache myself. Right, doll?
Which head?
Lunch, my boy, lunch. You got a roast beef sandwich there. Go on, eat it. Rare roast beef. Man, you never had it so good. What's the matter? Ain't you hungry? Listen, it would be a shame to waste it, right? Not bad. Boy, I don't know why they don't put salt on these things.
I'm Betsy Fuller of the Post. I wonder if you'd like to comment on that thing this morning with Gordon.
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, as a psychiatrist, I wonder if you've been able to analyze your own motives for hitting him like that.
Mr. Preston, pardon me. Just for a moment.
Wait a minute.
All right.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask you how it's possible for a man like you to stand up there in court and defend a person who's killed somebody.
Dr. Wallen, you must understand that when a lawyer...
No, it's just something I want to know. How do you justify it?
You'll have to excuse me.
You're working to free this man, Mr. Preston. He has to be punished.
Excuse me, please.
Come on. Quiet. Let's be lively.
Let's step lively.
Lively.
Let's step lively. You can't keep the court waiting, folks. I'm sorry.
Both sides.
Let's step lively.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and address.
Peter D'Agostino, 111 Yorktown Avenue.
D'Agostino, do you know the defendant, Joseph Gordon, and if so, how?
Yes, sir. We work together in the OK Meat Market.
In what capacity?
What?
In what capacity?
Oh. Well, I was sort of his boss, you know what I mean? I used to send him out with deliveries and, like that.
I see. Now, Mr. D'Agostino, during the time that the defendant worked at the OK Meat Market, did you have a number of conversations with him?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall any conversation with him regarding money?
Objection?
Your Honor, this is only introductory and subject to connection.
Overruled. You may answer the question.
Yeah. He always talked about money.
I see. And what did he say?
Well, he talked about all those rich apartments, up on River Drive there where he made most of his deliveries. And he talked about all the money those people had. The jewels and the furs, and stuff like that. He was always telling me how he was going to get money like that. He said he didn't care how he got it as long as he got it.
You say he used those words, he didn't care how he got it?
Yeah, he used those words.
I see. Go on.
Well, he always talked about finding wallets filled with cash, He always wanted to find wallets in the street like that. He always had those big ideas, about getting big money in a hurry.
And you think he'd be capable of violence to get it, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Objection!
Strike it out. The jury will disregard that.
Now, Mr. D'Agostino, do you recall an incident that took place on January 3rd during lunch hour?
Yes, sir. We had one of those, I could call it petty cash boxes,
Mr. D'Agostino, could you speak up?
Yeah, well, we had one of those petty cash boxes that we used for car fare.
I see. What happened?
I caught Gordon trying to steal from it.
I object, Your Honor. That's grossly improper testimony.
James, strike it out. The jury will disregard it. Mr. Toohey, you know better than that.
Both teams are skating down the ice, but the picture on that television screen's so blurred, he can't tell who's pushing the hockey puck. All he knows is who's losing the game. He is. Well, there's probably nothing he can do to see that game better, because if you get a fuzzy picture that doesn't have good detail, chances are your television just isn't built to receive the whole picture. But now, with 1957 Westinghouse broadband television, you actually get 22% more detail than sets without this feature. Let me show you a comparison. Let's say that this is the picture that you receive on an ordinary narrowband television set. There's not enough detail. Well, here's how different the picture is with Westinghouse broadband reception. Yes, that's the way the pictures compare, and here's the reason. You see, every television set gets the same signal from the station, but some sets with only narrowband reception simply aren't built to reproduce the full detail. So the picture is blurred and fuzzy. And here you see how Westinghouse broadband television is engineered to reproduce the full signal and give you full detail. Yes, Westinghouse broadband television actually gives you 22% more detail than sets without this feature. And Westinghouse brings you so many other new features. Well, for instance, give this bar a light touch. New push bar power tuning moves from one operating channel to another until you find the program you want. See the latest 1957 Westinghouse television sets, portables, consoles, and table models, all with new Westinghouse broadband reception. Prices start at $129.95 at your dealers now. And remember, you can be sure if it's Westinghouse.
Mrs. Gordon, would you feel better if you left the courtroom for a few minutes?
No, no.
Well, please try to control yourself. Proceed, Mr. Toohey.
Now, Mr. D'Agostino, on the morning of January 7th, 1957, now that's the day we're talking about here, did you see the defendant when he came to work?
Yes, sir.
Describe what you noticed, if anything, about his behavior.
Well, he was sweating. And he kept talking very fast, He couldn't stand still. Kept walking up and back all the time, Back and forth all the time.
I see, and it was then that you gave him the delivery for the Wallach apartment.
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
Rib roast.
Thank you.
Your witness? Now, Mr. D'Agostino, on the morning of January 7th, before Joseph Gordon went out on his first delivery, didn't you send him into the icebox for a side of beef?
Yeah, I did.
And didn't he tell you when he came out of the icebox that he'd hurt his hand while he was in there?
Well, I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember that.
You're under oath, you know.
Yeah, I know.
How many delivery boys did you have working at the store since you were there?
Oh, I don't know, 9 or 10, maybe more. They come and go, you know.
Are they usually from poor families?
Oh, sure.
And as a matter of fact, they're all pretty impressed by the wealth displayed in the River Drive apartments, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
And they talk about those apartments, about the jewels and the furs and the fine furniture and the servants and things like that?
Yeah, they talk about it.
Is there anything unusual about that?
No.
Doesn't mean they're all thieves and murderers, does it?
Oh, yes.
Withdrawn. Did you ever have daydreams about inheriting a lot of money from a rich relative?
Oh, sure, everybody has.
Well, did you ever have daydreams about winning a lot of money on one of those big television programs?
Yeah, I guess so.
And as a matter of fact, you've even had daydreams about finding wallets filled with cash, haven't you?
Yeah, but that was when I was a kid.
How old do you think Joseph Gordon is?
Oh, I'd say he's about 21 or 22.
No further questions.
Frank, don't you want a redirect exam on this guy? I mean, don't you think we should
No,
re-emphasize
sir, I don't think we've been hurt there. Okay. We thought we'd be wanted out of D'Agostino. Did you watch the jury during the cross?
No.
Believe me. Now, watch the defense on this one. Norma Lane. Call Norma Lane.
Who's that?
I don't know. Who is she? Who's Norma Lane?
The girl I knew.
What does she have to do with this case?
Get your name and address.
Norma Lane, 104 Marvin Street.
How old are you, Norma?
19?
You work as a counter girl at the Barclay cafeteria in the city, don't you?
Yes, sir.
For how long?
For 1 year.
Norma, do you know the defendant, Joseph Gordon? And if so, for how long?
Yes, for 3 years.
Norma, could you speak up, please?
Yes, for 3 years.
Norma, there's no need to be nervous here. You can just sit there and just relax. That's it. Now, Norma, could you tell us where you met the defendant?
In school. We went to McManus Vocational High. I met him there.
Young lady, speak up so that the last juror can hear you.
You say you met him in high school?
Yes,
How often did you see him?
2 or 3 times a week.
Were you his girlfriend?
Yes.
Speak up, Norma. Were you his girlfriend?
Yes.
I see. Now, did you go out with any other boys?
No.
All right, Norma. Now, on the night of January 6th, that's the night before Mrs. Wallach died, did you have a date with the defendant?
Yes.
And do you recall anything that the defendant said to you on the way home that night?
Well, no, I don't. I don't know. We were just talking.
About something he was planning.
Yes.
You do remember what he said?
Yes.
What was that?
Well, he said he was going to take me to Havana. To a big hotel in Havana. And that we would get married there and we'd have lots of money and everything. He said the best hotel in Havana.
And did he tell you how he was going to get all the money for this?
No.
All right, Norma, what happened then?
I laughed at him. I kidded him about it.
And what did he do?
He got mad. And he yelled at me that he'd show me. And then he left me on the street.
You say he used the words, I'll show you.
Yes.
He used those words, I'll show you. Your witness.
If Your Honor, please, the defense requests a short recess.
We'll take 10 minutes.
Bring him in the chamber.
Okay. Boy, that's a pretty good-looking tomato you got there, you know that? Let's go, pal.
Why didn't you tell us about this girl?
Don't know.
We have to know these things. We can't afford surprises. She might have hurt you very badly.
You don't have to tell me that.
Were you going to marry her?
I don't know.
Did you ever talk about marriage?
Yeah.
Often?
Yeah?
Did you ever have another girl?
No.
Is there anything more that you want to tell us?
No, I said I told you everything.
Look, Joe, we're trying to help you. Why are you behaving this way?
You think I killed that woman?
I never said that.
You don't have to.
Mrs. Gordon.
Why do you have to come in here?
They asked me to.
Well, I want you to go home.
Go home? Joe, I can't go home.
Well, it don't help me sitting there like that, Ma.
Helps me.
Mrs. Gordon, we want you to talk to Joseph because we think there are some things he hasn't told us. Things that could hurt him if we don't know about them.
I said I told you everything.
Joey, they want to help you.
They told me that, Ma. I want you to go inside.
I can't do that. I can't just do nothing. I'm your mother. I gotta have something I'm supposed to do. Joey, you do what they say. Now you hear? You hear me? You hear me?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Don't you ever do that to me again.
What was so terrible about it?
What's so terrible? Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Preston. That's a poor dumb woman. And she's sitting there dying. Did you know that? She's dying because I'm dying. And I can't look that woman in the face. I can't open my mouth to her. Because if I do, I'll cry. And you bring her to me here? I got all I can do to stand on my 2 feet, Mr. Preston. They're shaving the hair off of my head, and I know it, but my mother don't know it. Do you hear me?
Joseph, tell me the truth. Please. Did you kill Mrs. Wallach?
You dirty... You cut it out, that's all. No, don't ask me that. Just don't ask me that. Down.
He's trying to help you.
I know what he's trying to do. I never asked for you, Mr. Preston. They gave it to me. And I don't owe you nothing. You hear me? Nothing. You don't believe me. Well, that's your business. But you leave me alone. I'm not here to make you feel better. Yeah. Come on.
Well, I guess it's time to go. Dad? I said, I guess it's about time. He hasn't got a chance, has he?
No, he hasn't.
All right. I want to bring my man into court tomorrow morning.
You do, and I'll throw him out. Now, I don't want to hear any more about this.
Dad, will you listen to me, please? Dad, will you listen to me just for one...
Proceed.
Norma Lane back on the stand.
Barbara Lane, still under oath.
Well, when am I going to learn not to have chow mein for lunch? I got some heartburn. I could not.
May we proceed now, Mr. Preston?
You say you were the defendant's girlfriend,
Yes,
and that you saw him 2 or 3 times a week.
yes,
Did you ever talk about getting married?
yes.
Speak up, speak up.
Yes,
And, of course, you talked about the things you'd like to have when you got married.
yes.
How did you talk about it?
Like we had a new house and a big car. We had a maid and a butler. Go on make-believe trips to Europe.
And who would bring these things up?
Joey mostly.
The defendant?
Yes. He was always telling me about the beautiful things he was going to get me.
Always?
Most of the times, a lot of times.
But you knew that he only made $30 or $35 a week.
Yeah.
And you knew that he was just making believe.
Yeah,
But you played along with him.
most of the time.
What about the other times?
Well, like sometimes I wasn't in the mood, so then I kid him.
And what would he do?
Get mad.
So that on the night of January 6th, when Joseph Gordon told you that he was taking you on a trip to a luxurious hotel in Havana and then got angry because you kidded him about it, there wasn't anything unusual about that, was there?
No. No, there really wasn't.
Thank you. No further questions.
You can step down now.
All right, the party's over. Mary Ellen Bailey?
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So help me God.
State your name and address.
Mary Ellen Bailey, 712 Fenway Street.
Mrs. Bailey? On January 7th, for whom are you working?
Dr. and Mrs. Victor Hall.
At what address?
631 River Drive.
And what was your job there?
I was the maid.
The maid. And at what time did you arrive at work that morning?
5 minutes to 10.
5 minutes to 10. And through what door did you enter the apartment?
Through the front door. I have my own key.
And what, if anything, happened as you entered?
Well, as I opened the door, there was a man standing there. He punched me in my face, knocked me unconscious.
And did you see that man's face?
Oh, yes, sir.
Is that man in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Can you point him out?
That's him, right over there.
Indicating the defendant, Joseph Gordon.
Oh, my God.
There will be order in
I swear to God, it's not true.
Quiet!
It's not true.
There will
I
be
swear to
order in
God.
the courtroom.
It's not true. It's not true. Not true? Swear to God.
We'll recess until tomorrow morning at 10:30. You gentlemen of the jury realize that you're under oath. I must caution you not to talk about this case, either among yourselves or with anyone else, or to form any opinions until you have heard all the testimony.
He didn't kill him.
Yes, she's had it with drip pans and messy defrosting. She is going to buy herself a refrigerator that defrosts itself. Oh, look, there's a refrigerator that says it defrosts automatically. And there's a refrigerator that says it defrosts automatically. And there's another refrigerator that says it defrosts automatically. But, lady, wait. A lot of manufacturers claim that their refrigerator defrosts automatically, but what they forget to tell you is that it's the fresh food section that defrosts automatically. You get one home, and you find you still have to do the messy job of defrosting the freezer where heavy frost forms. Well, in this Westinghouse frost-free refrigerator, you never have to defrost the freezer because it defrosts 100% automatically. You never have to defrost the fresh food section because frost never forms there. This Westinghouse frost-free gives you completely automatic defrosting. And here's how. You see, this patented button counts door openings until the door has been opened enough times for a slight trace of frost to form. Now, this model will show you how the frost-free system goes to work and melts the frost so quickly that even ice cream stays firm. The defrost water drains through a tube outside the refrigerator to a pan at the bottom where it's evaporated automatically, so you never have to bother with it. Remember, only Westinghouse has frost-free, and frost-free means work-free. So see the beautiful 1957 Westinghouse refrigerator freezer and all of the other frost-free models that give you completely automatic defrosting at your Westinghouse dealers now. And remember, you can be sure if it's Westinghouse.
How is he?
He's just fine, Mrs. Gordon. You just sit back and relax. You don't worry.
He didn't kill her.
I know he didn't, Mrs. Gordon.
Joey says your father thinks he did.
Good morning. Morning, Mrs. Gordon.
Morning, Dan.
Where is he?
I'm bringing him in. Dad, could you try to be decent to him today, please?
This Mrs. Nesbitt, if you want to hear something that'll just gall you. Butcher boy Joseph Gordon, accused of the strangle-slaying of Harriet Wallach, spent a quiet night in his cell after the first sensational day of the trial. Gordon, who is alleged to have entered the Wallach apartment while making a meat delivery and so on. Oh. How do you like that for gall? Well, he spent a quiet night. Oh. Honey, did you remember to bring the gumdrops?
Dr. Wallach? Dr. Wallach, I'm Barry Fox of the Trib. I was wondering, sir, if you had any feelings about the way the trial is going so far? No. Well, do you expect to testify, sir?
Well, I don't know.
Well, Dr. Wallach, could you tell me this? Do you believe in capital punishment? Do you want that kind of revenge for your wife's death?
Will you leave me alone?
When his honor says 10:30, he sure doesn't come in a minute sooner, does he?
Why should he?
I don't know. Hey, Harry, how do you think it looks for Gordon so far?
Are you kidding? He hasn't got a chance. They may as well be strapping him in the chair right now.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
I wish they'd get started.
Yeah?
Well, what do you think about the case so far? You know, the part that impressed me the most yesterday was when Gordon's girlfriend testified that he promised her a lot of money. And a trip to Havana and everything the night before the killing. And him making $30 a week delivering meat for a butcher shop.
Listen, we're under oath not to talk about this.
Well, that Wallach is a grim character.
Well, I guess you'd be, too, if your wife was strangled to death 2 months ago.
Oh, I don't know. Did you ever meet my wife? You know, that Toohey's having himself a field day here, you know?
Yeah. That's a great case for him.
That's a very ambitious DA. You know, someday I'm going to be voting against him when he runs for governor.
No, I don't think so. But, Frank, do you think we set it up strong enough so the jury goes for the robbery motive?
Si, you're going to be a big success in this business. You know why? You're a warrior. Now, look, the testifying officer went into the Wallach apartment, said that the apartment was ransacked. Now, the defense didn't even bring that up during the cross-examination. Now, I know Preston chipped away at us a little bit. He's a very good lawyer, but he cannot knock out the basic testimony. Now, that jury is convinced that Joseph Gordon went in there to steal and then strangle Harriet Wallach when she tried to stop him. We got him right in our pockets. And another thing, we haven't even brought in the key witnesses yet. Tell you what, son. I'll bet you my salary against yours that Preston took 2 phenobarbs last night. He's still grinding his teeth loud enough to be heard down the next floor. Deal? All right?
Jay.
Huh?
I still don't see why they call it first-degree murder.
Well, it's what they call a felony murder, Mother, or something like that. You see, he was trying to rob the place, and he killed her. That makes it first-degree murder.
Dad, can I ask you something?
All right.
Is there any way you can prove medically that someone has a headache?
No, there isn't.
And they'll be making a big point about Gordon going straight home after he left the Wallach apartment at 10 in the morning instead of going back to the shop. You know, they'll be saying, if he didn't do it, why didn't he go back to work like he was supposed to? And his only explanation is that he had a headache.
Not now, please.
Then I think we got to do something.
I'll talk to you about it later.
You listen to me.
You're
please?
here to sit and learn how to be a lawyer, not to run this case.
All right.
Again. I had a bad night last night. There he is, the dirty murderer. You can see it all over his face. Boy, I'd like to get 5 minutes alone with him.
Jeff, your blood pressure.
Morning, Charles. How do you feel? Feel all right?
You all right?
Yeah.
Answer your names. Edward P. Lynch, Charles Morgenstern, Harold Shapiro. Here.
Jay, this is just the best vacation we've ever had. I mean, between this trial and all this shopping and everything, well, I just wish we could stay.
Can't help it, Mother. Gotta make a living.
Hear ye. All those having business before trial, part 4 of the criminal court, draw near and give you attention, ye shall be heard. Justice Peter Marcello presiding. Be seated.
You may proceed, Mr. Toohey.
Recall Mary Ellen Bailey.
Mary Ellen Bailey, still under oath.
If Your Honor, please, may we have the court stenographer read the last few questions and answers?
Go ahead.
Question. Mrs. Bailey, on January 7th, for whom were you working? Answer. Dr. and Mrs. Victor Wallace. Question. What was your job there? Answer. I was the maid. Question. And what, if anything, happened as you entered the Wallach apartment that morning? Answer. As I opened the door, a man was standing there. He punched me in my face and knocked me unconscious. Question. Did you see that man's face? Answer. Yes, sir, I did. Question. Do you see him in the courtroom here? Answer. Yes, sir, that's him right over there. Indicating the defendant, Joseph Gordon.
Now, Mrs. Bailey, you identified the defendant sitting over there as the man who struck you in the face and knocked you unconscious on the morning of January 7th. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, how long were you unconscious?
I guess for a few seconds.
Objection.
Sustained. Don't guess. How long was it?
I don't know for sure.
Now, Mrs. Bailey, was your face bleeding?
Yes, sir. It was just starting to bleed.
Just starting to bleed, but was it bleeding much?
Yes, sir. My whole lip was open.
But it was just starting to bleed when you came to.
Yes.
Now, what's the next thing that you observed or heard?
I heard some footsteps running down the service stairs.
I see footsteps running down the service stairs. And what did you do then?
I went inside the apartment and saw Mrs. Wallach lying on the living room floor.
And what did you observe when you looked at her?
I never will forget that. Her face was all bluish, and her head was twisted over to one side. I started to cry.
Can you describe the way the apartment looked?
It was a terrible mess. The drawers were open, closets, everything, clothes all over the place.
And what did you do then?
I didn't do anything, Mr. Toohey. I just sat down. I couldn't even scream. I was just crying.
Now, Mrs. Bailey, how long was it before Dr. Wallach returned from walking the dog?
A minute.
Thank you. Your witness?
Mrs. Bailey, what time did you arrive at the Wallach apartment that morning?
5 minutes to 10.
You're sure it was 5 minutes to 10?
Yes, sir. I looked at my watch when I was going up in the elevator.
Why did you do that?
Well, I'm supposed to be there at 10 o'clock. I'm the kind of person don't like to be late.
When did you last have your watch checked?
I check it every morning by the radio.
Well, was your watch running well?
Yes, sir.
And why did you set it every morning?
I didn't say set it. I said I checked it.
Now, Mrs. Bailey, When you regained consciousness, you say you heard footsteps running down the service stairway.
Yes, sir.
Did you run to look to see who it was?
No.
You didn't look. So it could have been anyone running down those steps, couldn't it?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
All right. Now, Mrs. Bailey, let's go back to the moment at which you opened the apartment door. You say there was a man standing inside and that he hit you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Instantly knocking you unconscious.
Yes.
How long did you see his face before he hit you?
For a few seconds.
That's a very short period of time, isn't it?
Yes.
When you opened the door, did you expect to see him standing there?
No.
Were you surprised when you did?
Yes.
In that brief couple of seconds that you saw him, what was he doing?
He was running right at me.
Then he raised his arm to hit you?
His right arm.
Now, Mrs. Bailey, answer this very carefully. At any time, did you take your eyes off him?
Yes. When he started to hit me, I tried to turn my head away.
You turned your head away. Now, Mrs. Bailey, is this what you mean to tell this jury? That in spite of your terrible fear, the surprise of being attacked, the shock of being knocked unconscious, and in spite of the fact that all this took place in a matter of a few short seconds, during which time you actually turned your head away, do you mean to say that 2 months later you can positively identify this man?
Yes, sir.
Without any shadow of doubt, so help you God?
So help me God, that's the man. I'll never forget his face as long as I live.
No further questions.
Mr. Dewey, are you ready to proceed?
If Your Honor, please, we'll be ready in a few seconds.
What was that all about? I thought Hammond was supposed to be in the office.
He arranged something for me. Dad, the man I told you about, he's in the courtroom. Hammond brought him.
What do you mean Hammond brought him? Who do you think you are to arrange a thing like that?
I'd like you to ask for a recess.
There'll be no recess.
Dad, you've got to do
Don't
this.
you tell me what I've got to do. There'll be no
I'm
recess.
sorry, Your Honor. Victor Wallach.
Your Honor. Your Honor, the defense requests a short recess.
Mr. Preston, it would be advisable for you to time your requests more carefully in the future.
Yes.
Have the witness take his seat. We'll take 10 minutes.
Don't you ever do that to me in a courtroom again.
Dad, I had to do it. I've got to talk to you. That man is in the courtroom waiting to do whatever we want him to do. He's the only chance we've got, and you know it.
Ken, I'm tired. I'm tired and I'm angry. I don't want to discuss it anymore.
We've got to discuss it. We're talking about Joseph Gordon's life.
That's right. We're talking about his life. Do you know how it all came about? It's because Harriet Wallach's life is past talking about. Joseph Gordon began this thing, not I. I told you if you brought that man into the courtroom, I'd throw him out.
If you do, you're killing Gordon.
Did you sleep last night? I didn't. I sat in a chair and thought about this case. I tore myself apart just sitting there in my bedroom. Do you think I'm not sensitive enough to know that there's a life in my hands? This Joseph Gordon, I hold the string on him as though I'm God come to earth. Now, that's something to live with. You know who put me in that position? You did with your man in the courtroom. You offered me a solution to this case that would make my personal code of ethics fit for a dung heap. Do you know how that makes me feel about you? Well, I sat and reviewed what I am and what I've been last night. And as of this morning, I'm clear. I'm defending a guilty man.
You don't know that.
He killed the woman.
Dad, you don't know
I do know it. Everyone who steps up on that witness stand tells it to me. He's guilty. He killed her. Now listen to me. He deserves to have his legal rights protected, but the man does not deserve to go free on a trick.
Who are you to decide what he deserves?
Think about this, boy. Because of you, I'm the only one there is who can decide. You came up with the trick. Well, I'm turning it down. He's getting the best legitimate defense I can give him, and that's all he's getting. Even that isn't easy for me because I have nothing but loathing and contempt for him. I live in this community. I have a feeling about murderers.
You're not defending the community. It's your job to defend him
Keep
against
telling
the
me about
community.
my job. You're 26 years old. Every mouthful of food you've eaten since the day you were born came out of my job.
I never forget that for a minute. I didn't think you'd say it.
Supposing you saw him murder the woman, would you still want your trick to be used?
Yes, Dad. I'd want it to be used on me.
Why did you become a lawyer? Do you know?
I don't know if I know.
Well, I know. You became a lawyer because ever since you were that high, I made you want to become a lawyer. It's been a good life for me, and I thought it would be a good life for you. Now I don't know. We don't think alike, you and I. I don't really know you.
Nor are you.
They treating you all right. I mean, they feed you all right and everything?
Yeah, they do.
You look so skinny.
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm fine. Joe, you think it's going to be all right?
Don't ask me. I don't know.
I tell you, I go to bed at night. Sometimes I wish I didn't have to get up.
Mom.
No. I can't help it. Every place you look, and the television, and the papers, they're calling it the butcher boy. Joe, don't turn away from me now. I tell you, I sit here in this court, and I'm thinking all kinds of things. I can't even tell you what they are. But when those people get up on that stand there, one after another like that, and they... Joe, that woman, that said you punched her in the face. The way she talked, huh? I wanted to get up and yell at her. Joe, I almost did. Honest. I could feel myself shaking so hard inside me. I wanted to get up and yell. But I didn't. I grabbed hold of myself, I clenched my teeth. I was shaking so hard.
Ma?
But Joe, listen. They were believing her. Joe, I was beginning to
What's wrong?
believe it. Joe, did you punch her?
I swear to God.
Nice, respectable woman, Joe. She was
Do I have to say it? Swear. I swear to God on Pop's grave I never killed nobody.
Joe, how could this be happening, huh? Sometimes I don't even know what they're saying.
Go home, man. Maybe if you go home.
Yeah, go home. There's nobody home. Go on, come on, come.
You may proceed, Mr. Toohey.
Victor Wallace.
Where's the defense counsel?
He's inside.
Well, Mr. Preston, you can swear in the witness.
You ready, Mr. Preston?
State your name and address. Victor Wallace, 631 River Drive.
Dr. Wallach, The deceased woman was your wife, wasn't she?
She was.
And the mother of your children.
That's right.
Doctor, what is your specialty in medicine?
I'm a psychiatrist.
And where is your office?
In my apartment.
Now, Doctor, could you tell us when you last saw your wife alive?
Well, we had breakfast together that Monday morning, January 7th. It was about 9 o'clock. After breakfast, I took the dog out for a walk. Must have been about 9:30.
So you last saw your wife alive at 9:30?
That's right.
Now, Doctor, what happened as you were coming back from your walk?
As I passed the surface entrance of my house, I saw the defendant run out and down the street.
And by the defendant, who do you mean?
That man over there.
Indicating Joseph Gordon. And, Doctor, what time was that?
About 2 or 3 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Now, Doctor, how do you know that?
I looked at my watch. I had a patient at 10:15. I had to be back. And I had just had my watch checked and adjusted the day before.
Thank you, Doctor. Your witness?
Dr. Wallach, when you came back to your house from your walk, which way were you walking?
Downtown. South.
And the man you saw running, which way was he running?
South.
And he passed you, is that right?
Yes.
So that you just saw his profile as he was running by?
That's right.
And after he passed you, you saw only the back of his head?
Yes.
So actually, you only saw his profile for a split second?
What do you mean by a split second?
Well, Doctor, suppose you tell me. For how long did you get a clear view of his profile?
For about a second, and there's no doubt in my mind, it was that man there.
No further questions.
Dr. Wallach, you're not telling the truth. Why don't you tell me? That's not true. That's not true.
Your Honor, that's the people's case.
Come forward to the bench for motions.
Defendant, I respectfully move for dismissal of the indictment on the grounds that the state has failed to prove a prima facie case.
Denied. Mr. Preston, call your first witness.
Dr. Frederick Cusick.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and address.
Frederick Cusick, 194 Wilson Avenue.
Dr. Cusick, are you a physician duly licensed to practice in this state?
I am.
Was the defendant, Joseph Gordon, a patient of yours?
He was.
Dr. Cusick, what were you treating Joseph Gordon for?
Chronic sinusitis.
Chronic sinusitis. Please explain that term to the jury.
This is an inflammation of the sinuses which keeps recurring.
What is the main symptom?
Very severe frontal headaches.
Will you repeat that, please, Doctor?
Severe frontal headaches.
I see. And how would you classify Mr. Gordon's sinus condition?
It's quite severe.
You have seen him quite frequently during his sinus attacks?
Yes.
Describe his behavior during these attacks.
He was nervous, sweating, and in extreme pain.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did these extremely painful headaches keep him from going to work?
Objection, Your Honor. That's hearsay evidence.
Sustained.
All right. Dr. Cusick, how many times did you see Mr. Gordon professionally for his sinus condition during the past year?
17.
17. How many of these were calls at his home?
11.
And how many of those were on work days?
9.
So the pain was extreme enough to keep him from going to work.
Objection, Your Honor. He's leading the witness.
Sustained.
Dr. Cusick, when you arrived at Mr. Gordon's house, where would you find him?
In bed.
Always.
Yes.
Thank you.
You want to see major surgery? Just watch Tui go. Now look at these sketches here.
Doctor, was that a medical record you just put back in your pocket?
Yes.
May I see it, please? Thank you. May I have this marked for identification?
No objection.
Mark it.
This is exhibit number 1 for identification.
Thank you. Dr. Cusick, you were trying to cure Joseph Gordon's sinus condition, weren't you?
Yes.
And he was getting better, wasn't he?
Well, no, he wasn't. You see,
Never mind that,
sinusitis is a
doctor.
very...
Was he or was he not getting better? Just answer yes or no.
No.
No? Didn't you write on this card, the visit of October 18th, that he was improved?
I don't know.
Well, look at the card. What does it say on October 18th?
Yes, it says improved.
Speak up, doctor.
It says improved.
And what about the visit of November 5th? It says improved again, doesn't it?
Why, he was only slightly...
Never mind what it was, doctor. What does it say on the card?
Well, you see, in a condition
Doctor,
like
do you know how to
sinusitis...
read?
Indeed.
What does it say on the card?
Improved.
Thank you. Now, that means improved again over the last time, doesn't it?
Somewhat.
Somewhat? You didn't write somewhat. You wrote improved, didn't you, doctor?
Yes.
Well, thank you. Now, doctor, and I notice here you have on the date of November 20th, you wrote improved again, didn't you?
I don't know.
Well, here, just look at the card.
Yes.
Thank you, improved. So that means, doctor, there's been a steady, progressive improvement. Is that right?
Why, you can't
Just answer yes or no.
Yes.
Now, doctor, isn't it true that from the time that Joseph Gordon became a patient of yours, that 3 weeks was the longest time between treatments?
Yes.
And when was his last visit?
November 20th.
November 20th. That's a full 7 weeks before the day that Mrs. Wallach died. Now, might that indicate that he was cured?
That is the
I
question
didn't
of
ask you
degree.
that, doctor. I did not ask you that. Now, you have a college education, haven't you? You understand plain English, don't you?
Yes.
Well, just answer yes or no. Might it indicate that he was cured?
Yes.
The jury cannot hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, doctor, you tell the jury this. Were you paid for coming to court today?
Well, I understand.
I asked you a simple question, doctor. Were you paid, yes or no?
Yes.
How much?
$50. This is a
I didn't
standard-
ask you that, doctor. $50 for 1 hour's work. Do you usually get paid $50 for 1 hour's work?
No.
I see. Now, doctor, will you tell the court and the jury this? Do you know of your own knowledge that on the morning of January 7th, Joseph Gordon had a headache?
No.
Louder, please.
No.
No further questions.
I think this is a good time to recess for lunch. We'll take 1 hour. I must again caution you, gentlemen of the jury, you will not talk about this case among yourselves.
I'm sorry.
I don't think I've ever seen such a grimy youngster. He's got a lot of washing to do. And so's his mother. Just look at that T-shirt. But, clever mother that she is, she's put her new Westinghouse space mates, the laundromat and the electric clothes dryer, right in the bath. So, in goes the shirt, his pants, and socks, along with some other clothes, into the laundromat right at the scene of the grime. Well, maybe you never thought of having a home laundry in your bath. Well, if you knew these Westinghouse space mates as well as I do, nothing would surprise you. You can put them any place that you have just 25 inches of space. With the Westinghouse laundromat below and the electric dryer above, you can wash and dry 2 full family-size loads of clothes at the same time. It's the most versatile home laundry in the whole world. And, of course, you can have the space mates side by side like this if you like. The Space Mate laundromat has the famous Westinghouse revolving agitator that you'll find in every Westinghouse laundromat. It gets the clothes cleaner, it washes them cleaner, rinses them better, and it even cleans itself. And speaking of clean, let's check and see how that bath is coming along. Mother particularly likes the Westinghouse direct airflow system of drying because it's so fast, and that's why it's thriftier, too.
Okay, Johnny. Time to get out of the tub. You get yourself nice and dry now.
Only Westinghouse has the Space Mates, and they are unique. A complete space-saving home laundry for less than $400. You can get them both together, or buy the Space Mate laundromat first and add the dryer later if you like. See them at your Westinghouse dealers tomorrow. And remember, you can be sure if it's Westinghouse.
Excuse me.
Can I have a cup of coffee with me? See, this is your boy, isn't it? That's right. Hi, nice to meet you. Must be really gratifying to work together like this. You know, my kid wants to be an engineer. It's just killing me. I want to be a lawyer, but, well, he's got a mind of his own. Listen, I may not get a chance to see you gents again. I just want to compliment you. I think you're doing a beautiful job.
Thank you.
No, I really mean it. I think you're giving that boy a first-rate defense. Really fun. See you in court.
I wonder if I could ask you something.
Yeah, come on here. Come on in, Sonny. You might learn something. You're not looking for a deal on a lesser charge, are you?
No. I wanted to ask you why you used that kind of cross-examination on Dr. Cusick.
Well, what are you talking
You don't
about?
stand a chance of losing this case, and you know it, yet you nearly destroyed that little man. You insulted him, you embarrassed him. What for? He wasn't going to hurt you a bit.
No, Preston, I don't feel that way about it at all. Just having a defense witness up there hurts me. What'd you produce him for?
He's all we had.
Well, that's life, my friend. It's my job to knock him off. Is that what you want to talk to me about?
Yes.
I'll see you at court.
Mr. Toohey, do you think Gordon's guilty?
That's the way it's going to come out, isn't it?
Supposing he isn't.
Preston, that's your problem. Listen, you're not trying to find out whether I have a conscience or not, are you?
I guess you could put it that way.
Boy, you're really something. You know that? 30 years in the business. Well, this is hardly the place for it, but I'll tell you. Yes, I happen to have a conscience. I'm worried that I'm not earning my salary. You see, I get paid to do one thing, Preston. That's to convict. And the money's pretty good, considering where I come from. And I'm responsible to all the people in this state, so I take my job pretty seriously, you know? Now, once I walk into that court, I don't think about whether the guy is guilty or not. I just plow right in there and try to convict him. I mean, I'm the prosecuting attorney, so I prosecute. I figure the defense attorney is a defending, and I always think he's a little smarter than me, so I'll do anything I can to win, in or out of the books. That's clean, dirty. It's all the same to me, just so long as I win. Listen, if I start to think about whether that guy is guilty or not, I'm dead. That's the jury's headache. Now, the people pay me to convict, and that's what I got to give them. And if I don't, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Now, does that clear you up?
Hi, Mr. Preston. He's just finishing up his lunch. You want to talk to him?
Please. Sure.
What do you want? I can tell by the way you're standing there. You want to ask me again if I killed her. Right? Well, what if I said I killed her? You'd believe me for the first time since this thing started. Wouldn't you? I'm trying to eat here, you know?
Joseph, listen to me. Dr. Cusick was the only defense we had. He's been wrecked. We have a few people from your neighborhood who are going to tell the jury that you were always a good boy. Their testimony's meaningless. We have nothing left. We've lost. If you'd like someone else, maybe another lawyer can... I've never done this before in my life. If you want me to resign, I will.
What do you want to do, Mr. Preston?
That tooey out there, that was too much to have to hear.
He was honest with you. Do you think he was wrong?
Yes, I think he's wrong.
He hasn't judged the man. He only thinks he has a case against him and wants to win it because that's his job. Dad, he said it all out there. Right or wrong, he's on one side, you're on the other. A man on trial is all alone in the middle. He can't defend himself. He may be guilty. Nobody really knows. But shouldn't there be someone to fight as hard to free him as Tooey fights to kill him? Aren't those the rules? Clean, dirty. As long as there are lawyers fighting on each side, does it really matter? Isn't the law big enough and durable enough to stand these things?
I don't know anymore, Kenny.
You haven't called me that in 15 years.
No. I haven't.
Dad, that man is still in the courtroom, waiting. It's a pretty big risk. Might not work. But shouldn't we try it? Father,
And that's something you haven't called me in 15 years.
I know.
I hadn't realized how big you've gotten.
What are we going to do?
Where's your man sitting?
Hey, Frank, you think we'll be much longer?
No, he's got nothing left, Si. He's got a couple of character witnesses, and that's all. Good.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Preston, you can proceed.
Your Honor, may we have a couple of seconds with the defendant?
Go ahead.
Joseph, we're going to call your mother up on the stand. She's so close to hysteria right now. Luck.
Mrs. Anna Gordon.
Mrs. Gordon, take the stand, please.
Mrs. Gordon. All right.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and address.
Anna Gordon, 61 Dexter Avenue.
Very foolish of him to put it up in the stand like that.
Mrs. Gordon, are you the mother of the defendant?
Yes.
Is your husband alive?
No.
Speak up, please, Mrs. Gordon. How long has he been dead?
11 years.
Are you on relief?
Objection.
Sustained.
Mrs. Gordon, what do you live on?
Objection, Your Honor. That's irrelevant. What's he getting at here?
The line of questioning seems irrelevant, Mr. Preston. Do you have a point to make?
I'll withdraw the question, Your Honor. Mrs. Gordon, on the morning of January 7th, were you at home when Joseph came in?
Yes.
What time was that?
About 11:15.
And what took place when he came home?
Well, I was in the kitchen, but I heard him come in. I went to the front door, and the minute I saw him, I knew he had one of those
Objection,
headaches.
Your Honor. That's an operation of her mind.
Sustained. Strike it out.
Yes, but I'm his mother. I can tell when he has one of his headaches. Why does that
Objection,
man-
Your Honor.
Sustained.
Would you instruct the jury to disregard that last statement?
The jury is so instructed. Now, Mrs. Gordon,
But you see, I know what he goes through. He's been having these headaches since he was 8 years old.
Objection, Your Honor. She's doing the same thing.
Strike it out. Now, make your answers responsive and factual without giving any conclusion.
Your Honor,
What did he do when he came home?
But he even told me that he had
Objection, Your Honor. That's hearsay.
Sustained. Now, Madam, please.
But I'm
Mrs. Gordon, how did he look when he came home?
sick. Sick. His eyes were all bloodshot. He was
Objection,
suffering.
Your Honor. She's defying your rulings.
Sustained. Now, you can't say that.
Why can't I say that? Why can't I say that? I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you exactly what happened.
Mrs. Gordon, now just answer the questions.
What did Joseph do when he came home?
What did he do? He went right into the bedroom. I thought to myself...
Objection, Your Honor. That's improper.
Never mind. Answer the question. What did he do?
He screamed. He screamed. He screamed. My head is killing me.
Objection, Your Honor. Object to this.
You shut
I
up.
object to the line.
Answer that
You
question,
shut
Mrs.
up.
Gordon.
Your Honor, I object.
But he had a headache. Why?
Your objection, Your Honor.
Why don't you listen
Your
to
Honor.
the truth? The truth is
Ask for it.
Come
Please, come down. Come down.
Let me just...
Come on. Come, Mrs. Gordon. Come, Mrs. Gordon. Come on. Come on, relax.
There will be order in this court.
Order. Please take your seats.
I don't believe I have to caution you members of the jury to disregard this outburst. It must play no part in your deliberations. Mr. Toohey.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mary Ellen Bailey, take the stand.
Mary Ellen Bailey, still under oath.
Your Honor, may I have the court stenographer read back the last few questions and answers from the cross-examination?
Go ahead.
Question. And 2 months later, you can positively identify this man? Answer. Yes, sir. Question. Without any shadow of a doubt, so help you God? Answer. So help me God, that's the man, indicating the defendant. I'll never forget his face as long as I live.
By that's the man, I presume you meant...
I meant him. That man.
Thank you. Your witness?
Mr. Toohey.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Victor Wallach?
Victor Wallach, still under oath.
Dr. Wallach, you have said that you saw this man running down the street at 2 or 3 minutes to 10 o'clock on the morning of January 7th. Now, I repeat that. 2 or 3 minutes to 10 o'clock.
That's right.
Look at him.
I said that's right.
That's all. Thank you. Your witness.
Mr. Toohey.
I have no questions, Your Honor. I protest this wasting of time. This
All right, Dr. Wallach, you can step down. Now call the next witness.
Joseph Gordon, step forward. Your Honor, may the record show that Joseph Gordon was sitting in the last row of the courtroom, while the last 2 witnesses identified an entirely different person as Joseph Gordon.
Your Honor, I protest. Never in my entire career have I seen anything like this.
Hey there, Mr. Toohey, let me hear what this is all about. All right, Mr. Preston.
With Your Honor's indulgence. This man, would you rise, please, and stand next to the defendant? This man is Anthony Caminata, a law student at the University Law School. 2 weeks ago, my son noticed him by chance in the university library, was struck by his resemblance to the defendant, and asked him if he would consent to appear in court in behalf of the defendant. He agreed. He and Joseph Gordon changed places during the confusion following Mrs. Gordon's testimony.
Your Honor, this...
Please, Mr. Toohey. Continue.
Your Honor, I want to make this quite clear. Although Mr. Caminata and Mr. Gordon resemble each other somewhat, they are not nearly identical. May they approach the bench so that Your Honor can view them together.
Mr. Preston, I don't know whether I approve of your tactics or not. But bring them up. All right. Let the jury look at you, then take your seats.
Your Honor, that's the case for the defense.
All right. All right. Are there any motions?
Your Honor, may the jury be excused while the motions are made?
The jury will be excused for 5 minutes. I caution you gentlemen not to talk about this case among yourselves.
Your Honor, I hereby move for a directed verdict of acquittal on the grounds that the testimony of the 2 identifying witnesses, Dr. Victor Wallach and Mary Ellen Bailey, has been demonstrated to be unreliable and was completely demolished by their misidentifications. With all the testimony as to identification having been vitiated, there is no substantial evidence connecting the defendant to the crime charged in the indictment.
Mr. Toohey?
Your Honor, I'm strongly opposed to the granting of this motion, but I have nothing to say in argument.
This is off the record. Coming from you, Mr. Preston, this episode was especially surprising. It was legitimate, but I don't have to tell you how I feel about having a stunt staged in my courtroom. Now, this is for the record. The defendant's motion for a directed verdict of acquittal is granted. And the defendant is released from custody forthwith. Discharge the jury.
Well, congratulations. I guess neither one of us is asleep tonight.
Make room for Miss Louise, please. Make away,
Was it right, Kenny?
You still think he's guilty, don't you? Well, I don't think so. Suppose he is. No one's proved it. Isn't that the safeguard that protects us all, whether we're innocent or guilty? They have to prove it. It's possible we've used the law to free a guilty man. But if he's innocent, we've used the same law to save a life. Let's go home, Father.